The following transmission contains unencrypted instances of explicit language. Mature audiences are cleared to proceed.
Shall we begin? Let's begin.
If the 60s spy movie genre is mostly typified by James Bond-inspired hijinks, it might be fair to say that the 70s started to bring more serious fare to the table, or at least more consistently. Introspection of our own intelligence agencies, including their morality and methods, grew to become a staple premise for broad audience box office hits rather than a niche topic. I'm Todd.
And I'm Dave, and we like to talk about spy movies.
With Americans still reeling from Nixon's Watergate scandal, 1975 just might have been the perfect point for a big movie with a big Hollywood star that was supremely paranoid about our own Central Intelligence Agency that could still be counted on to sell a lot of popcorn. This episode of Spies Like Us, classic for a reason, 3 Days of the Condor. 3 Days of the Condor is a 1975 film with events circulating around that time, so contemporary. CIA being the only agent featured in this one. 75 is like right after Watergate. Conspiracy type stuff is definitely coming to the fore in a lot of media. This is also right after, I guess, the Family Jewels scandal, right, came to light in December of 1974.
The Family Jewels release was in result of Watergate. I think what the director at the time resigned, and then they pulled William Colby up as the director specifically just to, go to hearings against Congress because they wanted to shut down the CIA. And Colby basically spilled out a bunch of secrets. But he didn't spill all of them. There's actually a really good documentary about him where he knew how to give answers to questions without giving everything. So he let out X amount of secrets. And so, like you said, this would have led into big conspiracy type stuff because that shook like the whole nation.
So some people kind of attack this film a little as being like kind of jumping on that whole bandwagon. But they had actually pretty much like filmed this and almost finished producing the film by the time the Family Jewels revelations were made. So there's not really a connection there. The movie is based on a book called 6 Days of the Condor. There was a sequel in 1976. So right after this movie came out, I guess he said it's time to cash in on this cow. It did not do well. Kind of went nowhere, and right now it's like crazy rare. $900 for a hardcover and $700 for a paperback.
That's a little much. I guess that's how little it was printed.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
You just can't find a copy.
Exactly. And then crazy later in 2015, there's another sequel, which is presaged by a short story with the weirdly appealing tagline. Check this out. This is like the sales pitch of the book, or the elevator, or this is like, I'm setting the scene. I'm trying to sell you this book, la la la. They led him out of the CIA's secret insane asylum as the sun set over Autumn's forest there in Maine. So apparently the story's taken some twists and turns by that point. There was a TV series that came out in 2018. It was canceled though after just a couple years. But that's all the versions of the source material there. We got Max von Sydow here. When you hear that name, what do any roles pop out in your mind? Do you know this guy?
No, not at all.
No. Did you ever see Flash Gordon?
Yeah, when I was like a kid.
Okay.
Flash.
I love that movie. He was Ming the Merciless. Really incredible Ming the Merciless. He's also in The Exorcist, and Dune and Judge Dredd. Showed up in a Star Wars movie, and he's another guy that shows up in Game of Thrones somewhere. I don't know if that maybe rings a bell for you. You've seen that series.
Yeah, but I don't really know. Which guy is this in 3 Days of the Condor?
He's Jobert, the hitman.
Oh, the hitman? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, so wait, was he the priest in The Exorcist?
I think so. So yeah, if you saw him in
Oh.
Game of Thrones, you're probably looking for someone very, very old by this point.
Yeah, he's the three-eyed raven before the Stark boy takes over. That is him. Oh my god, I'm looking at pictures. That's definitely him. That's funny. And then here you're saying he was the priest in The Exorcist?
I'm pretty sure he's the priest.
Oh yeah, he's the main priest.
Mm,
Yeah, that's definitely him.
yeah.
Wow.
Solid actor. I've liked him in everything that I've seen. Came across that he's had a 70-year. Actually, I think he might have passed by now, but he did have a 70-year career as an actor, appearing in more than 150 films,
Wow.
which I thought was a really high number, and it got me curious about like how high is that really? And not to get too sidetracked, but I am kind of interested in this kind of stuff. I kind of got confusing and conflicting reports on who has the most acting roles of all time, especially since I was only interested in movies. Different people, have published these at different times and using different metrics, and they're not all necessarily. Some of them are just those kind of bullshit listicles that don't really go into like any detail on like this is exactly what we're counting. But the names that appear often on these lists are not going to be a big surprise to us. You're going to see your Christopher Lee, your James Earl Jones, Sam Jackson, of course. Susan Sarandon and Danny Trejo are some notable names in the top tier. All of those are way up above Sydow, though. They're resting in like between the 200 and 300 range. All those people, though, get completely blown away by a couple of Bollywood stars, one male, one female, that have each rocketed past the 1,000 films mark. And
Wow, that's a lot.
I'd say that's a lot.
Yeah.
And you could count Mel Blanc if you count cartoon shorts as films.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't, but this film supposedly is the inspiration, or a major inspiration, for the Captain America the Winter Soldier film, which is a film that I remember liking a lot, but I don't remember the plot well enough to understand how it connects with 3 Days of the Condor at all.
Right.
And I assume you don't either, because you pay even less attention to Marvel movies than I do, if I'm not
Yes.
mistaken.
Yeah, no, not at all. There's a few that I enjoyed, but I'm definitely not on the list of super fans.
Sure. But yeah, that wasn't just idle musing. I wanted to confirm that. It's confirmed in interviews with the writers of Captain America that this was one of the first films on their mind. And then, of course, that would explain why Robert Redford shows up in that film as the villain. Okay, I got 2 notes on Dunaway before the briefing room. Okay, this one's funny. Faye Dunaway, who's not a person I know. I know the name so much better than I know her work. She's from a time of movies that is just not really in my wheelhouse. She said that this movie was one of her biggest acting challenges because she was asked to portray a woman that didn't want Robert Redford to tie her up and rape her.
I see.
She said she actually had trouble not bursting out laughing during the creeper scenes in this movie.
Right.
So okay, I'm not telling tales out of school. She put it right there in her memoirs. And then this weird one, which I don't know if it's an only, but it's the only I've ever heard of. And I didn't catch this personally. I only got this off Wiki, but near the end of the film in New York, you're going to see a movie billboard for The Towering Inferno, which starred Faye Dunaway. And you can see the name Dunaway. It's partially obscured, so you don't entirely see Faye Dunaway, but you do say the name Dunaway. And I'm trying to think if there's, well, I mean, I'm sure I can't think of one, but that's just like a weird trivia oddity to have a movie that someone's acting in that has, you know what I mean? There's a weird like Twilight Zone paradox going on there.
I wonder if that was an accident or not, that they just weren't, or if it was a studio attempt. There was a lot of product placement and a lot of product shaming. There was the whole like fuck the Wall Street Journal. Then there's the like shot at the end for the New York Times being the savior of all mankind. Yeah, so I wonder if that was a mistake or if that was planned by the studio. I wonder if was Towering Inferno done by the same studio?
Ooh, that'd be interesting to know, but I'm not going to Google it right now. But it definitely could have still been like in the studio system. And even today, even though we just don't have like the totally locked in studio system of the past, like it's still true that certain actors just tend to work with certain studios. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. That's what I've got for context of the movie. And we head now to the briefing room to talk about the tradecraft.
Retinal scan complete. Validating security clearance. Clearance granted. You may now enter the briefing room.
All right, so Dave, you tell me, what is Robert Redford's character? Oh, well, let's give him a name. Joe Turner. At this point, right. Yeah, we're going to talk story. What is Joe Turner's job?
They kept talking about how he just reads books, and that I believe that this would have been like old school open source intelligence or OSINT, from what I would understand. Not only do you want to keep tabs on what other countries are publishing and what stories are being written and what are news being said, but I think in the movie they said there might be some code that they're looking for, and they put some of what they think might be code into their computer systems to track code, is kind of what they described. But overall, they just read shit from all over the world is what that whole, I guess, building or crew or, department does. But there's a lot of jokes to play, like, when Higgins is like, oh, you really do read everything. So I think that's what their job is just reading shit and trying to glean information and analyze stuff to provide theories to the company.
And in this case, it's a novel, which I'm a little iffy on. Like, I don't really understand who's trying to pass secret information in published novels. That seems like a very exorbitantly expensive and unnecessarily complicated way of sharing secret information.
Well, you're getting paid for the distribution, right? It's not like I presume they would have like a contract with someone. It's been told, or it's been discovered and talked about heavily, that there's people in Hollywood from our intelligence as well as foreign intelligence that like just submit scripts, because you don't have to. You can just submit a script if you wanted to, right? So the idea, I guess, is people have developed a pen name for themselves, and if you're in a different country, and I translate my book into your country, and the right signals, I guess you would read the book and find the code.
Well, now that you mention Hollywood, I mean, now I'm feeling like maybe this was actually more of a bit of a propaganda piece, because that makes more sense to me.
Right. Well, it could also be that was the other reason I was going to say maybe it's not coded so much as propaganda.
Right, because this would be a good distribution source for propaganda. Secret messages is like not so much, because like, you know, you only get to print it once and it's just out there. And once, like, how many people do you need to find to, you know, out there, do you need to accidentally or on purpose note, you know, what do you say? Like, you know, the book's coming out on September 30th. Everyone go buy the book.
Yeah. And it's going to lay out the next year's plan or some shit, right?
Right. But
Yeah.
as a piece of propaganda, this makes a lot more sense to me. And then, so one thing he's keying in on is that it was published in 3 specific languages that, just in his experience, like, it's not a normal set of countries to target,
Right.
for the book. You know, like, I guess this is something I could say from doing a lot of localization for video games work. You know, I've done games in French, German. I kind of know what the common targets you might hit, or for a big game, you know, that's going really worldwide. You know, I know what kind of countries that it would expand out to. And I could tell you, like, if I saw a video game that was like only published in, you know, Saudi Arabia, the Netherlands, and Argentina, like, that would be something that would really raise my eyebrows. I would say, who the fuck are these people? Like, what's going on here? And that seems to be like kind of similar to what's going on here. I guess there must be some other stuff in the material that's got his hackles up, but I don't think we're privy to that. And then they've got they're working out of New York with a literary society as a little light bit of cover. It's a pretty it's a very satellite-y office. They're not operating in the basement of Langley or at the Pentagon or something. They just kind of have a light cover, a little bit of security with the camera. The receptionist,
one security guard.
Right, one security guard who like lives under the stairs, apparently. You know, and the receptionist has got a handgun. Movie-wise, this is what I would consider a pretty soft target. So here's what happens. I'm going to kind of lay out the overall plot of the film, like the conspiracy, and then we'll get into some details on some stuff. There's a guy in the CIA named Atwood. And he's got some kind of secret CIA plan to manipulate oil markets, in particularly 3 countries, it looks like. And it's not something that he's sharing with his superiors. So I guess kind of a rogue closet operation. I don't know how much actual, like, of this kind of thing is authentic or realistic, that you know, someone's working on something within the CIA that's, you know, it's like a big deal, but like none of his bosses know about it and it's all off the books or something. Turner's report on a certain novel has raised alarms with Atwood that the plan could be unveiled. He brings in an outside contract killer, that's Jobert, that's our Max von Sydow character, to silence Turner's office. He kills everyone. He doesn't get Turner because Turner happens to be out to lunch at the moment. Turner tries to come in from the cold to the New York chief of CIA, the regional manager, I guess, played by Higgins, who's named Higgins. Higgins is kind of just manipulated by Atwood, unknowingly, it seems, into setting Turner up. This throws audience suspicion on Higgins at first, but in the end, we'll actually find out he's not necessarily decent, but he's not in the conspiracy, the core conspiracy.
Or at least the film's conspiracy. He might be involved in a lot of others, but he's not involved in this conspiracy.
Yeah. Turner follows some clues, eventually finds the Atwood connection, and confronts him. And then in a huge twist, Joubert arrives to kill Atwood and make an end to the whole affair. Okay, so that's what happened. What do we got going on here? I would say it's a huge overreaction on Atwood's part.
Oh, absolutely.
I think we've had a couple of these recently where, even in The Night Manager, a great example where someone had the position and authority to simply like close a department or shut off its budget, but instead goes on a bunch of crazy like threats and bribes and well, I don't think the MI6 didn't go out trying to kill anybody, so this is even worse for sure. But you're with me on that, yeah?
Absolutely. And I think with John Voight's character in Enemy of the State, we both identified the overreaction was way a bad form on the department.
Yeah. Now, I guess it's important to remember that what Atwood's trying to cover up is not something he can tell his bosses why he wants to do it, but it really does seem like he's got enough strings that he could pull to just, I would say a good play would be, again, assuming that this is the only theory that Turner is working on, just pick one of his other theories and say, hey, you really got something there. Let's give you some extra funding, and I want you to focus entirely on that. And whatever that was would be a nothing assignment.
That's a really good idea. Absolutely. Just like maybe one of his theories that don't mean anything, and just be like, "Yo, you're really onto something. Here, let's give you a promotion and a pay, a little pay bump over here. Just focus on this for now on." And set him on a wild goose chase. That's a good point.
I mean, it might be tricky, and it wouldn't just be as simple as going to his superiors and recommending they shut that department down, because then his superiors would say why, and his whole idea is like to not have his superiors find out what he's up to,
right?
Or anyone. And that also is the justification for bringing in an outside element in the form of Joubert. So he's reaching outside the company pool for talent, but still we share our number 2 worst tradecraft nominations for this film on Atwood overreaction.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we both saw it was in every other movie that we've brought this up. It really hurts Team Bad Guy for their overreactions if they just did, basic, intel work or something. Mm-hmm. They might actually be able to have a better solution and nobody knows what's going on versus like, hey, let's just start killing people off and putting pressure on people and let people know, hey, you're onto something. Why don't you keep looking where you were looking before? Especially with that like American desperado ideal we have here in movies, like, one man is going to save his town type of thing. Mm-hmm. Robert Redford is kind of like an American treasure type of actor, or a very beloved American actor. So, he's one man, his whole team's been killed, and they're trying to like threaten him. He's not going to go down without a fight, quote, So,
right, yeah.
So they're basically poking the bear. I mean, it makes a good movie, but yeah, I think you and I both key in on this multiple times in the spy films we've been watching, that it's just like, why would you do that if you're trying to cover this up,
Yeah, it's a story versus plot, the epic struggle. Yeah. Now Turner, just by luck, avoids getting himself shot along with everyone else, because he was the one that was picked to go out to lunch. I guess they do this on a rotating basis, it sounded like, because his boss says it's your turn. Mm-hmm. And we see that Turner has this very bad habit of going out the back door when he goes out for lunch when it's raining, because apparently he's figured out a route to the cafe that gets him less wet.
Yeah, right. Saves him a half a block, I think, is what the receptionist had said or something.
Okay. But, again, minus spy points for this agency, but it's consistent with the fact that these are total bookworms. Like nobody's expecting an attack here. Nobody's expecting, to find out one of the other librarians is a mole,
Right. And it kind of works out for him because the hit squad is watching the front. And so I guess they don't see him go out the back, which I guess minus spy points on the hit squad. And that's what kind of saves his life. But I guess minus spy points on the hit squad for not thinking about lunch.
Right. Because if they've done any kind of homework, which they have to have done some, they would know that someone goes out for lunch. One person from the office goes out for lunch at this time every day. Right. And I think there's like 8 or 9 people in the office. So the fact they don't know that Turner goes out the back maybe just means that they haven't done, that they've only been surveilling for less than a week. Otherwise, they'd know that. But yeah, also like check for back exits and kind of stuff would have made some plus spy points. But we really need this serendipity for the whole movie to work.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
100%.
Exactly.
Now, they knew that Heidegger was, which is one of his coworkers, they knew that guy wasn't in the office, but they just, I don't know, sent a side team to just whack him in his apartment. It looks like, he was legitimately sick. And that's not anything that is intricate to the plot or anything like that. But they had counted Turner as being in the office, and now they know he didn't go out the front. So when you're in the building, and you're missing a person, what should their thinking be now?
Oh, they probably were sick home or on vacation, which is how they got Heidegger.
That's how they got Heidegger, but they saw Turner go into the building.
Oh, that's yeah. No, absolutely. They should have been like, oh, we missed. Well, they did talk about that they missed one, and they have to go get him. And this is the thing that bugged me the most about this. Turner's the one that figured out the plot. They literally cleaned out an entire room of people who think he has this crazy idea, and nobody really agrees with him. And so they killed everybody but the guy who has this notion that there's this plot somewhere in the Middle East.
I didn't even think of that. So minus spy points for Atwood for not telling Joubert okay, kill all these people, but this one guy, this is the most important guy.
Yeah.
And then you could follow that logic further to say, well, then why not just whack Redford alone at home? Right. Or just arrange an accident or a disappearance.
Right.
Big minus spy points there. Hadn't thought about that. But I had been thinking about what should their next move be?
Oh no, but they did. They did plan on getting him at home. But remember, Turner calls Langley and they told him specifically, do not go home. And when he did try to go home, there were 2 guys waiting for them, which, by the way, I wanted to give a little plus spy points on that. The neighbor tells Turner, hey, your friends are here. He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, your 2 friends. They said that you gave them a key, that they let themselves in and whatever. And that clued him in on oh, that's why I shouldn't be here. So Team Hitman did plan on catching him at home. But because his neighbor was kind of give him the heads up and he was already privy of I shouldn't be here anyway, didn't go in. And so he didn't get killed. So they did plan on trying to do something a little bit more strategic, but it just didn't work out.
Yeah, sure. I still think, really, really checking out the entire building before they left or leaving someone to surveil afterwards. Even if you assume maybe he's hiding in here somewhere, when you leave, leave someone behind, to watch the only entrance that you know of. Right. Which is what Redford kind of suspects when he sees baby carriage lady But
Right.
and that's just the film giving us a taste of the paranoia, like, oh my god, it could be anyone, what's going on.
Right.
But it can't, baby carriage lady can't be really on team bad guy, because there's no one following Turner
Right.
to the phone booth and doing the stuffs. And also, like, if Turner's in the habit of leaving through the back door just to avoid a little rain, I would think that, like, finding everyone dead in my office would be the perfect time to actually legitimately use the back door.
Right.
So I'll throw out some minus pi points on that one.
Right.
But he gets to the phone booth and calls, I don't know, I think I called it the panic officer. I think that's what they actually called him in the movie. This is kind of like their little internal 911, who gives them instructions, and is very clinical in his, like, asking of questions, like, what has happened? What's the damage? Are you damaged? Are you armed? His instruction is to call back in 2 hours. I think it might have made more sense to have him, like, come straight in. But I don't know. I don't know what the procedures would or should be in a case like this.
They might have to assess the situation and to determine whether or not they believe him, right? They probably got to analyze for a little bit and then give him further instructions.
Yeah, but if they're worried about, like, if they're worried about him being legit, like, why give him 2 hours to play around with? And if they are worried about him being a target, why give him 2 hours on the street? Seems like movie stuff to me. But again, I don't know what the real procedure would or should be.
Okay.
For sure. Can only speculate. They're gonna send in some. It's funny at this point in the movie, and maybe we should just lay this out a little bit. Like, at this point in the movie, we have no idea who's on team bad guy,
Right.
and who's on team good guy. The CIA definitely seems fully conspiratorial, because they send in some guys to clean up the office. They grab an envelope, they count the bodies, they report in. They note that there's one less person than they were expecting, which is not Turner, because they know Turner's not there, but that's Heidegger. That, I think, kind of actually turns into a sort of a subtle clue that not everyone is, like, the conspiracy is not monolithic, because if the cleaners reported there's one guy missing, one unaccounted for guy, if they were all on the same page on team bad guy, they could have just called Jobert and said, like, hey, there's one missing.
Right.
But they don't. They seem a little confused by this. So that's maybe kind of a clue that not everyone is operating on the same page, which turns out to be the case. It's just Atwood that's the bad apple, and Jobert is, like, his weapon of choice is heavy for this film. The rest of the CIA is not villainous, but bad. To make that distinction, I think that's, like, one of the main points of the movie too. Is
Well, I wouldn't say they're bad. They're just kind of cold. Like,
much better word.
Yeah, they're like a super utilitarian. You know what I mean? And especially with the big speech we get from Higgins at the end. I don't know if you want to go into that now, but yeah, no, I think you're right in saying that they're not the villains, but they're definitely, like, they're not like the warm fuzzy hero,
right? Yeah,
like they're literally just crunching the numbers and making decisions.
They're the machine.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Just like a lot of kind of like we could take it to the Jason Bourne movies, where we talked a lot about, like, how that movie really, like, the machine of international intelligence is just kind of its own kind of beast, and it just does what it's gonna do. A lot of the people out there looking for Jason Bourne they're just people doing their jobs and not asking questions.
Right.
There's only a couple villains like kind of hidden in the core manipulating stuff.
And there's a lot of that in this.
Very much so. I think that's what this movie is really, at the end, I think that's what this movie is really about.
Right. Like there's a lot of moving pieces, a lot of ins, a lot of outs, a lot of what have yous,
I think it's not the idea that the CIA is bad. I think it's the idea that if there were bad actors in the CIA would not investigate itself, and it would just close ranks and just try to tie everything off and just
right.
never mind the damage, just keep the secret
and move on,
Yeah.
Right.
Just the impersonalness of it, like you said, the coldness of it.
Right.
So, but like I said, like just the fact that this was a clue that maybe, there's different levels of information that everyone that's against Robert Redford, not all on the same page. When he's calling a CIA office in the World Trade Center, which, by the way, is where the CIA office for New York was at the time, but that wasn't public knowledge. So might have just been lucky guess on the part of the filmmakers.
Maybe not a lucky guess. More
Right.
like an informed guess.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I'm sure there was talk about it, and then it was either true or it wasn't, right? And I guess it turned out to be true.
He visits his home. There's two guys waiting for him there. I believe those are probably Jobert's men, not Higgins's men. But Higgins, even though they had given him instructions not to go home, I think they should have sent people to his house just in case.
Oh, yeah. Well, I didn't even think about that. That's like major minus spy points. If I was anybody in the CIA in charge of this, I would have been like, well, have people watch his house, see who's going to his house.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah. For all sorts of reasons.
All sorts of reasons. Either Turner has flipped and he's plotting something, or he's in danger. And either way, going to his house is a good idea, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Higgins just wants everything buttoned up. Like we said, just like tie off the triage, tie off the wound. He sends his report to Langley. Remember, Higgins is the section. I don't know if you want to call him section. No, he's not a section chief. He's just like the general New York manager, something. But he sends his report to Langley, specifically section 17, which is supposedly the section Redford's Turner character works for. I couldn't find a reference for any section 17. Might be just made up, but it sounds cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wicks is the head of Turner's section 17. When he gets this report about some of his people being killed in New York, he choppers immediately to New York and kind of assists. Now it's been the 2 hours, and Robert Redford is calling in, and he gets connected to Higgins, which is not someone he's ever met. This is just the person the panic officer told him to call. And Wicks is there along with an assistant. Wicks is kind of like not on the phone call with Turner and Higgins, but he's in there in the room with Higgins. Higgins wants him to meet in a certain alleyway, something like it gets a little messy here.
Yeah, Turner is right. He says, I'm not going into any alley. You know what I mean? You never see this in spy films. Especially the big blockbuster summer. I brought this up in Mission Impossible, and there was other movies where they just get in the car. You know what I mean? And it's not only minus spy points, it's minus self-defense points. You know what I mean? And I really liked that they had this in the film, that Turner's fuck you. I'm not going into an alley. Think about it. In real life, if you're in a situation where a bunch of people were murdered and then you call and they're like, go meet me in an alley, like, I'd be like, fuck you. You're going to meet me in the most populated place I can think of.
Right.
You know what I mean?
We're going to get on a bus together, you know.
Right.
You're going to ride 3 stops, you're going to get off, and you're going to look for a man with a balloon.
Right, yeah.
You're going to meet on a bridge. You're going to meet at a, dare I say it, a fucking park bench.
Right, exactly. We're going somewhere public with I'm not going in an alley behind a building in New York where people get stabbed and shot, you know? So I really liked Turner's response to this. And so there's kind of a stalemate. And the film really played this out. And I liked this whole interchange because it's a real interchange. It's like, I don't know Wicks. I don't care if he's my department head. I've never met the guy. I don't know him. And they're like, well, we got to help you. You know, you're in danger. He's like, well, I'm not going to an alley. And they're like, all right, well, what if we find someone you know? And like, they're so well aware of everybody in the company. They're like, you know Sam. You went to college with him. He's one of our guys. He knows Wicks. Would you trust Sam? He's like, wow, you people are really something, you know? Like that's like the reoccurring theme in this film. Like as Turner's learning, like how much surveillance really is on everything. He's just like, wow, you people, you know. He says that like 100. But anyway, so I thought it was a good solution. I don't know that I still would be okay with going into an alley, but at least like, yeah, I know Sam. Sam's a good guy, right? You know. And especially since Turner isn't like privy to a lot of tradecraft, you know, because he's just a bookworm, quote unquote. You know, he's like, all right, I know Sam. Sam's cool. I'll go meet with him, and they meet. I think we both marked this as our number 3 best tradecraft. Do you want to talk about like what specifically you liked about it? I just like that they used someone to resolve the stalemate. We're gonna send someone you know.
It is very good tradecraft. And like, even if there wasn't a conspiracy, even if they were playing straight with him, this is the good play. What I don't like is like, if Higgins isn't in on the conspiracy, like why he's even trying to arrange this alley meeting in the first place. Like, he doesn't know that Wicks is going there specifically to try to kill Turner.
Right.
And I don't even understand why Wicks is in the conspiracy. Oh, so that, okay, remember when I was saying, okay, yeah. I think I'm on solid ground here. Remember I was saying Atwood is the villain. And we talked about like, okay, like if you had chain of command, you could just shut this down by just shut the department down. Send everyone on vacation. Whatever. Right. Tell him we don't care about that. Like, or just stop caring about it. Like, you know, like what's Redford gonna do? You just keep sending him back things like, yeah, very interesting. Keep it up.
Yeah, we're looking into it. Yeah, keep it up.
We're on top of it. What about that other report you were working on? Do you have anything on that?
Right.
Okay, but maybe the reason he can't do that is because Atwood's trying to keep his operation secret. But if Wicks is part of Atwood's conspiracy, as he clearly is, well, Wicks does have the authority to do that kind of simple shit. Because Wicks is the head of Turner's department. Right.
So
yeah, okay, yeah. We're in the clear. We're in the clear here, as in calling bullshit. Like, this is not the greatest. It does also seem odd that they can't find someone else in Turner's command chain. Like, if he's never met his section chief, well, who has he met? Is the old guy, you know, at the literary society, like his only contact?
Well, it seems like the old guy is like kind of the captain of Section 17 or whatever you would call it. Like, he's probably head of the station, right? So, but he might not have ever met Wicks. I want to give the CIA in the 70s a lot of credit, and I would like to hope that there's a cutout between British dude at Section 17 and Wicks and Higgins and Atwood. You know what I mean? Like, I hope there isn't like a, I hope
Oh,
the
like a
old-
direct line of chain of command of knowing
Right.
exactly who your boss is, who your boss's boss is, and who that guy reports to, and then the president.
Right, yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. So my guess is just they probably have some sort of cutout or a dead drop place or something to get the reports or whatever to Langley to
No,
get
they just
analyzed.
send them. They just send them out in the mail. The mailman just shows up and picks them up and drops
Oh,
them off.
that's right. And then just drops off letters. That doesn't seem very safe.
Doesn't seem safe at all.
No. Well, it goes to show you how little they were worried about this bookworm department, who apparently cracked open all of the conspiracies.
Right.
Right. Yeah. No. I mean, I think Wicks is the one that wanted to go, and it's probably because he had to clean house. He's probably working with Atwood, some way, and he
Must
probably
be.
knows.
Must
Right.
be. Has to be.
Right. Oh, okay. So also really like plus spy points on Turner here. When he gets to the alley, he sees Sam. He's like, "Oh, Sam, it's you. Hi." But he doesn't run down the alley and give him a big hug. He's like, "Hey, where's the other guy?" And of course, the other guy kicks down a bunch of trash cans and starts shooting like a fucking idiot. And then Turner pulls out his gun that he has and he shoots back at him, hits him in the leg, and then takes off. So that whole thing was weird.
I mean, I wouldn't say weird. I would say worst. I would say worst number one. This is an absolute crock of crap. Minus spy points big time.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
The whole idea was to build trust. All Wicks needs to do right here is just step forward and say, "Hey, guy, let's go home. Let's talk.
Right.
You're safe. You're safe now."
Right.
And there's no reason for Turner to have turned down that offer. That's what he's here
Right.
for. That's what he wants.
Exactly what they discussed on the phone. We're going to bring a guy he's going to vouch for Wicks, and you're going to come home. They said, I love that you brought up, just come home. They said that to him like 20 times on the phone. We'll take you home. Don't worry. We'll get you home. We'll get you home. You're right. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, and then once you have him in your clutches, like you can do whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah. I'm sorry, he fell off the cliff. Yeah.
Right, yeah. And then even after Wicks is wounded, I think killing Sam Barber seemed like just creating an additional problem.
Yeah.
Even after, because Sam's freaked out, why did you shoot at my friend? Why did he shoot back at you? Sam could have a lot of questions at this point, but silencing him with a bullet to the throat doesn't seem like the clean good move.
Right.
You could resolve a lot of this with just storytelling, taking people in.
Oh, you know why?
Yeah,
Because
why?
they would have, after the gunfight, remember, Wicks was taken into the hospital. They would have taken Sam in and interrogated him. Remember, Wicks is working for Team Bad Guy, not for Team CIA. So Team CIA, as we were shown in the show, would have done their job. They would have interrogated Sam and Wicks. And Sam would have been like, yeah, Wicks took me to the alley, and then Wicks started shooting at Turner, and then Turner shot back, and I don't know what the fuck's going on. I was just here to see my buddy, And then Team CIA would have been like, oh, well, that's interesting. Wicks, why did you shoot? Now we have a whole thing versus Wicks could be like, oh, yeah, there was a whole thing. He shot at me and then shot blah, blah, blah. And that's why he had to shoot him.
Okay. No, you make a good point, but we'll stick with the idea that shooting at Turner was incredibly stupid.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you're definitely right to pick it as a worst number one tradecraft.
Now I'm not sure, but no, I am sure what I would be doing right now in Turner's position. I'm not sure it's the right thing, but right now I would be running for cops. I would just be like, police. That would be my instinct. I'm not saying it would be a good idea, but I'm pretty sure in this situation, after the alley scene, that's what I would have done. Instead, his next move is going to be to kidnap Kathy Hale.
Uh-huh.
But before we go into that, I wanted to keep following Team Bad Guys plays and how they're proceeding after the alley scene. Mm-hmm. We're going to see Higgins take a helicopter flight to, the movie doesn't tell us exactly, but I presume it's Langley. Mm-hmm. And by the way, I did not know this before, because I know Langley's in Virginia. I know Washington, D.C. is on the coast. I'm not super familiar with the geography there, but I did find out that Langley is just 20 minutes drive from the capital.
Oh, well, I don't know if you've ever been on the East Coast. I mean, like you and I grew up like on the West. You know, I mean, I've been living in California my whole life, but you were like in Washington for a little bit and Northern California.
Oh yeah, I-5 is my universe, pretty much.
Yeah. On the West, the states are so big, getting anywhere takes forever. But I mean, I remember going to like a Birth of America trip with my mom and my grandma and my sister, and like you could drive to every state in like 20 minutes. Like, you know, they say you could get anywhere in LA in 20 minutes. Like, you get to any state in New England. Like, it's right. Like, it was I think our record, we passed through 3 states in an hour or something. It was. So, but that makes sense because Langley is supposed to be like our international defense, right? And then Washington, D.C. being the capital. I'd like to hope they were close. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was thinking it's close enough for like good communication. I mean, a 20-minute drive, that's not that bad. It's close enough, but it's also far enough away that like if the Capitol were attacked, like you couldn't attack like just the Capitol and get like the Capitol, the Pentagon, and Langley like all in one strike.
Oh no, yeah. They're far enough, but they're close enough, is what you're talking about.
Yeah, that's what I think. That's what I think.
Absolutely.
But he's going to take a helicopter to, again, I'm just presuming it's Langley. It's got trees that look kind of Virginia-ish. Not that I've ever been there, but wherever it is, it's this weird front of like 5 Continents Imports Incorporated that only once you get inside do you find out that there's some United States Marines as guards. Uh-huh. And then within there's like a boardroom, like it's a front, like it looks like a warehouse, but like once you go through the thing, then like suddenly you're in this like elaborate, like Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy kind of Laughlin group kind of boardroom.
Right.
I don't understand.
By the way, I was super jealous of the ashtray. As soon as Higgins walked in the door, he just puts out a cigarette. Like, there's just an ashtray sitting there because people just smoke in the 70s. You know what I mean? And he's just like, yeah, let me put this out real quick. Yeah. He's like, yeah. I was jealous.
No, back in the 70s, you were required to smoke.
It's like on the job requirements.
Now, in that meeting, which Atwood is, I think, present. It's not noted in my notes, but I think he is. I'm not sure why he would be, but this is where we're going to meet Wabash. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. This is played by, I'm going to go off again and make myself some more editing trouble. John Houseman is the old guy. You know the guy I'm talking about?
There's a lot of old guys. You're talking about the old British guy at the headquarters?
Yeah, with the bow tie.
Oh, yeah. I actually thought he was Atwood. That was really confusing.
I had to completely review all my notes the entire time through my first 2 passes through the movie. I thought that was Atwood. I had them confused. 100%. Yeah. He keys in, they're asking questions about the alley scene. They're questioning Turner's loyalty because Wicks apparently claimed that Turner shot both him and Sam Barber, right. which is good. Obviously, that's the story you're going to tell. It's not even worth plus spy points. It's so obvious. But Wabash keys in on the fact because he's asking questions about Turner's training and accuracy with the handgun and kind of like, I don't know, showcasing a little bit of forensics knowledge about like exactly like because he was shot like just an inch above the bulletproof vest. And did Turner have that kind of skills? When I thought Wabash was Atwood, like I was going nuts on how good his werewolf game was, because he's basically laying out the case that like none of this story makes any sense. So obviously Turner is an enemy agent.
Right.
That we didn't know that he like has these like mad handgun skills or something. Which, yeah, it would have been my number one worst until I realized that Wabash and Atwood are not one and the same. And so Wabash his conclusions here are actually going to give him some -5 points. He's barking up the wrong tree. But it's not looking good for Turner. I mean, like the head honchos of the CIA are leaning toward the idea that Turner is a problem that needs to be taken care of or silenced instead of a friendly force that needs to be brought in and, big hugs and cuddles. It's around this time Joubert lands in Washington. Now, this is really clear because we see him literally walking out of the airport and having a conversation with someone that I haven't exactly identified, and I am a little bit curious about. Do you have an exact idea or read on who this person is?
No.
Okay. It is a great conversation, and I think I went through, I analyzed it as best I could. But what we're going to do, I'll give you the inferences that I get from this. He's walking and talking with another older gentleman, and the older gentleman is giving him like a new contract, like paying him for a new job, which we don't know what it is. Eventually, I think my theory is that it's supposed to be, you got to take out Atwood. He's become a problem. I'm not sure.
Oh, so maybe it's the person at the top of the conspiracy chain.
Like someone above Atwood?
Maybe.
Possibly.
Like, do we think Atwood's on top?
I don't know.
Or do you think someone figured out that Atwood was doing some shady shit and they needed to get him out, and that changes the contract? I think that's a good theory, because it doesn't really get explained why Joubert changed all of a sudden at the end. Other than like we get a little bit of a speech, "Hey, I like you. It's just business. Don't worry about it." But like we don't really get like. So I think that's a good theory.
Right. I mean, at the end, he is going to basically say that someone had decided Atwood was a problem and needed to be taken care of. At this point, we don't know who that someone is. And this is our only clue, or this is the only time when it could make sense, because he is getting offered like a new job, and there is no other job that he does that isn't explained other than Atwood.
Right.
So it might be a little weird timing thing, but he's getting paid for that unspecified assignment, and which also, of course, includes Condor. Like, he says, like, I still owe you, Condor. I've already been paid for that. So that's already free. He also, Joubert wants to talk through with this guy, like what they know about what happened with Wicks in the alley. It's clear at this point, Joubert has been sold the same story, the same false story that Condor killed Barber and wounded Wicks. Like, that's his understanding of the situation. So again, we have this nice, which is one of the things I like about the movie, like this nice disconnect between the bad guys are not all on the same side necessarily, but he makes an insinuation that Wicks has always been entirely predictable, and that this guy Turner might be a lot less so. And he says he's going to throw in a hit on Wicks for free. Not exactly sure why, but again, it looks like at this point they're gonna shut down Atwood, and maybe like a final scene. I don't know how you would have put it in the movie, but I mean, maybe it's Wabash that no, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Like, who decided to like turn on Atwood and when and why?
Right.
So we're just left with questions, which I guess, isn't an entirely bad thing for a movie to leave me with questions, but questions they are. Last thing I got to say about this conversation, throw out some quick plus spy points for the fact that Jobert just like smoothly like switches to French for just a couple sentences, just as like
Oh yeah,
some
that was
couple.
really cool.
Yeah, I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Just like English, 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 English. Oh, here comes some people. French, French, French. Okay, they're gone. English, English, English.
Right.
Yeah. And then that's my team bad guy stuff. Where would you go? I want to turn now to get back into Turner's head and his situation and introduce the Kathy Hale situation. But before we go and dissect the decision he makes to abduct basically a random woman off the street and turn her place into like a kind of a temporary safe house. And I wrote this in my notes. Now I'm thinking like maybe there's reasons you wouldn't want to say this on the air, but I wanted to ask you the question: what do you think you would do in Turner's situation at this point in the movie?
Well, I understand what he was doing because he thought someone with two guys showing up at his pad. He's probably in a panic, right? So he's like running, and he doesn't know where to go. So he finds a place that doesn't have like it has one way in and one way out. So I thought that was clever, but I don't know that I would go to like a mom and pop shop. Like you don't want to go to like anybody's house, right? Like any friends or family, right? Because you're just gonna like lead people there, right? Unless you think you could, break the tail. I'm not sure. I mean, I think it was kind of clever that he picked a small shop because even if there is a back exit, it's not easily accessible. And from where he is in that little clothing shop that he's in, a ski shop, whatever he's in, he stands behind that clothing rack and just watches, so he can see who's coming in and who's going out.
Right. I didn't mean necessarily like you said, like you wouldn't necessarily run to your mom's house because you're gonna put her in danger. Fuck that.
Right. I'm not going to my mom's house. I might think of like some sketch peeps that I might know of, or at least go find some that I don't know, that might be able to help me out. Right. But I'd have to break a tail for that. So going to someplace that you don't go to regularly is probably a good idea. I just don't know that I would pick a ski clothing shop myself. You know what I mean?
But you definitely wouldn't choose the route of abducting a random woman and hiding out at her house. That definitely wouldn't be on the top of my list.
No, it wouldn't be on the top of my list either. So if that's where you're going, no, absolutely. Kidnapping somebody would not be on the top of my list.
I do think Turner might be married, or at least was. He is wearing a wedding ring in this movie.
See, that was weird because the Asian chick at the beginning, I forgot her character's name because we see her for like, a minute? But it was obvious they had a relationship. And when he was asleep later with Kathy, she's like, who's blah, blah, blah. He's like, oh, she was a friend. Is that his wife, or was that just like a girlfriend and his ring was like an ex-wife?
I don't think in their interaction, I don't think they looked like they were married, but if they were, that would solve a lot of problems for me, because then that would
right. Yeah.
definitely cut off like his access or like, will he be missed by anyone? Does he not have friends or family? Like,
well, obviously Sam is his friend because when he goes to visit the wife, she's like, "Oh, you're early." So and she kisses him. So they have obviously been. I mean, him and Sam we know are good friends, but the wife knows him, right?
Right, and they apparently had previously planned to have dinner together. And who was the fourth? No.
They didn't. I don't know if you caught this. Turner had no idea about this plan. She said someone at the office contacted me. So Team Bad Guy hit up Sam's wife, telling him, oh, there's going to be dinner because they predicted. So I think it was Jobert that did that, because Jobert predicted he probably is going to go to Sam's house because Sam was killed. Because remember, early in the movie, he asked me, tell me about Sam. Were they close friends?
Mm-hmm. That was in the airport conversation. Yeah.
Right. I think Jobert is the one that contacted Sam's wife. Because when Turner gets there, she's like, oh, you're early. He's like, the fuck you talking about? Like, she has no idea Sam's dead. Like, and she's like, oh, yeah, we're, blah, 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 and yada, yada, oh, yeah. And
right,
like,
but she was also expecting, I thought she was expecting Turner and Asian chick. She used her name. The Asian chick's name.
Well, then that's even more.
There were four places at the table. Right.
So then I guess they are a long-term relationship. I mean, I don't know that they were married though. Yeah, that's it. Maybe they were engaged.
At least dating, and that's what makes sense to me. Like if they were married, like then that
or
would
at least engaged, right?
Right. Well, it's a wedding ring he's wearing, not an engagement. Well, I don't know. Do guys wear? What do guys
generally
wear when they're
not
engaged?
They don't really wear anything.
I don't know.
I don't
well,
know.
Turner's definitely got a wedding ring on.
Right.
I know that.
Right.
So who's his wife? Who's his friends? Why isn't anyone like worried about him? Blah, blah, blah kind of thing. But instead, he's going to go after Kathy Hale, which, as we mentioned before, it's going to get creeper in here. I really thought he could have been working harder and earlier to reassure her, look, I'm not a robber. I'm not a rapist. I work for the government. Just some kind of stuff like early. Just try harder to put her at ease.
Well, he was also in a panic himself, but yeah,
that's
you're
true.
right. I guess he could have, I guess, but he said he doesn't even know if he believes his own story. I think it was the line he gave.
Well, yeah, when he's explaining his job to her, he pauses and says, who would make up a job like that?
Right.
Which is just,
right.
It's just weird. Once he's got Kathy safely to her house, he kind of throws this weird proof of concept at her that he's got a business card for Tentrex, which if you look in the phone book, you find that phone number. And then if you look up the CIA, they're both the same phone number, which is kind of cute. Some people complain about that online, but
I definitely would complain about that.
Yeah, okay.
It's cute, but I definitely would complain about it.
We don't have a park bench scene in this movie per se, but some of her photographs show park benches.
It's in my notes. The first photo he sees is a park bench, and I was like, park bench. No, yeah, that made me happy.
We're even gonna revisit the photos. I'm jumping ahead a little, but during the extremely odd sex scene, I thought we're gonna see flashes of her photographs. We're fantasizing about park benches while we're having sex.
That was such a creeper moment. I was not sold. Look, I understand the general fantasy, the kidnap, hostage type fantasy. Okay, right? I know that's a thing, but I was not sold that character wanted to have sex, especially with that whole conversation with her boyfriend that she's been having trouble with. It seemed like they just shoehorned a bunch of random shit to try and explain it, but it didn't fit right. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like, it's obviously she has a troubled relationship with boyfriend, right? And this was like a vacation get together because she's been flaking. And if she's flaking, either that she's a flaker type person or the flame is burning out, And so that's kind of like his pitch to her. It was really creepy, and it was kind of rapey. It didn't seem like she was actually consenting. And then after he unties her, I mean, like, consent's out the window when he like takes her hostage, but I mean, like when he unties her, and then like I'm just not sold. Yeah. Anyway, we're here to talk about tradecraft, not
Well,
sex craft.
you know who was sold? Faye fucking Dunaway.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But I agree. Character wise, I didn't buy it. It seemed totally unnecessary, and also I thought that was an extremely odd sex scene. He's not moving at all. And like we repeatedly just see her like have these reactions like almost like she's waking up, like saying like, holy shit, I'm having sex with Robert Redford. and then it's interspersed with pictures of her park bench photos. Moving on.
Hey, if you're listening right now, you have not seen this movie, just at least watch it for the sex scene because it fucking makes no sense.
I would say
this is why
don't
I'm
watch
laughing
it
so
for the sex scene because I thought it was one of the most uncomfortable sex scenes I've ever seen. And I just kind of don't like sex scenes in general.
Right? Me either.
Yeah. I kind of just blur them out. I'm just not that interested. Just kind of convey that I'd rather just see like you guys kissing, kind of go in the bedroom, close the door, and then just wake up cuddling. Cut to wake up cuddling. I'm cool with that.
Okay, they fucked. All right.
Right.
I got it.
I got it. I didn't need to see it. And I especially didn't need to see it as weirdly acted as this was. Dude, he's not moving. He's not moving at all.
No.
And she's going nuts.
Yeah. Getting back to the tradecraft.
Right. Yeah. When he sees the report on the news of how it's been portrayed, that kind of clicks in on him that like, okay, well, Sam would have told May that he was called in, to do something. He calls her up. He doesn't respond. Like she's like, hey, Sam, what's up? It's one of those, I call the phone and just listen to you for a second and then hang up kind of thing. Don't say anything. And that's also going to be a key clue when he does get to her apartment that she's like, gets another call where the person on the line isn't saying anything. And she's like, that's the third time today, which if he wasn't already triggered, he's triggered now.
Right.
He wants May to hide upstairs, like go upstairs to some other couple's apartment that they know and are friendly with or whatever. He's telling her that as like Jobert happens to be here. It's one of those like coincidence, like people like I complained about this a lot in Tomorrow Never Dies, where Brosnan and what's her name just kept showing up at the same place at the exact same time. This is one of those. But Jobert just happens to be in the elevator exiting as he's pushing May in and telling her where to hide. What Jobert does, like he leaves the elevator, and then as Robert Redford gets into the elevator, Jobert also rejoins the elevator, which is extremely odd behavior.
Right.
And I would say minus spy points unless he's trying to like really like, I don't know, do a fucking full on like head game with Turner on like, like letting him know I'm the guy.
Right.
It just seems like very bad tradecraft. Like wait for the next elevator, Jobert. Nobody gets out of an elevator and then waits for you to get in and then gets in behind you. That just doesn't happen.
Absolutely, but he doesn't have a plan to kill him in the elevator. He has a plan to snipe him off the street. So I think he's like tailing him. You know what I mean? And
sure, but
Turner picks up on the weird behavior. It seems like, right?
Yeah, right. But you agree it is weird behavior, and better hitman play would be to wait for the next elevator.
I completely agree. Yeah, I thought you were saying like he should have got him in the elevator or should have.
Oh, no. I'm just saying, like, it is extremely odd. Like, have you ever seen, you're waiting for an
No,
elevator,
it
someone
was
gets
super
out,
creepy.
you get in,
Yeah.
and then the person that just got out of the elevator gets in with you? Fuck that.
Yeah,
That's weird as fuck.
right.
But yeah, and like you say, like well, Jobert's gonna after a little bit of after you know you first kind of stuff. Okay, cool.
Yeah,
Exits the building. Turner is obviously knows this guy, which is why I'm giving Jobert -5 points, because he just totally fucking showed his hand.
yeah.
But
I felt exactly the same way. You know what I mean? I completely felt the same way about that.
But so knowing that Jobert is out there, or strongly suspecting, Turner improvises his escape. A little unethically, maybe, but whatever. You got to do what you got to do. There's these kind of like urban hippie types that he uses as cover. From here, in the movie, like, we never talk about May again. Turner seems to forget all about her. He said he was going to call her. He doesn't. Also, Jobert has the information about where she went. He doesn't follow through on that, but maybe he doesn't care about that. He gets some little +5 points for nabbing the plate number of Hale's car. Why did I say? Oh, right,
Kathy.
because
Her
at
last
this
name's
point,
Hale.
right at this point, Turner is driving around in the most conspicuous fucking car that I've ever seen in a spy movie. Like, you see it, it's a big, like, orange Bronco or something. Like,
Right, yeah.
wow. If you're rolling the dice, trying to roll, hope that the lady you kidnapped has got an inconspicuous car, you just rolled a fucking natural 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, critical fail. But that's that plate number presumably is what is going to, because it's a car registered to her, and she's got a gas bill, and she's on the grid and everything. So that's where it's going to be possible for them to trace Turner at his Hale's house, or Hale's apartment hideout.
Yeah.
All right. And that's going to lead us to the mailman attack.
There's a few things that we should really talk about for the mailman attack.
Can I throw this out first, though? In the morning after the sex scene, it's when he's working overtime trying to put the puzzle pieces together, trying to figure out what's going on. He's doing a lot of drawings, a lot of names, a lot of circles, a lot of arrows, kind of stuff. He's doing analyst stuff.
Yeah.
And we're going to see him work through a lot of flashbacks. The one the movie wants us to focus on here is that, like, it was reported back to him that HQ at Langley said there's nothing to support your theory about this novel that's only been published in these 3 countries, and that information was forwarded to Langley, and that Wicks was part of that process, like Wicks's signature is on the, hey, this doesn't make any sense, we don't care about this, which the movie is trying to sell us as a big clue, but I don't buy it, because Wicks is Turner's section chief. All of his shit would have normally gone across that guy's desk.
I think because he never actually met Wicks, and he still doesn't know if Wicks is actually his department head, right?
That's true. Oh, yeah, he doesn't know that.
Right. Even though that's who he was told is coming to the alley, he still doesn't really know that, right? Then...
I mean, it was someone that took a shot at me.
Right. Some guy that I thought was supposed to be Wicks takes a shot at me, right? But so now with that letter, he's confirmed that Wicks is the department head. And I don't know if that's his name or his code name or whatever, but the other thing is Wicks is note saying, hey, this is bullshit, kind of alerts him to saying Wicks is in on some bigger conspiracy, right? And then later he finds out Wicks was killed, right? I think it was on the news, right?
They didn't use any names in the news reports.
Oh. You're right that it was kind of like, oh yeah, but I think it was like, oh yeah, that's how I kind of read it, but I might have also been like, meh, or whatever. It was just weird. And I think you're right to point it out as like, why is this a big deal? But I think it's because, one, he now has confirmed that Wicks is the department head, and that Wicks is probably in on the conspiracy. That there's another conspiracy. They're trying to cover up this Middle East idea.
Yeah, I just don't buy it.
Yeah.
Even though it's clear, like that's what the movie is trying to tell us is happening. Like,
Right.
like it doesn't make sense to me. Like I don't know, your boss's signature on some shit that you wrote. Like that's just what it is.
Yeah.
That's normal channels.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't add up to a clue, in my opinion. Let's do mailman, because that is going to give us some actual actionable clues, kind of stuff.
Yeah,
you already complained about the combat scene.
Yeah, the fight scene. It was like, this is a professionally trained killer and experienced killer, and it's 1-on-1. I guess Redford or Turner is just so super smart. He can solve the problem against like a submachine gun. I don't know. Number one, I wanted to give like some minus spy points. I think this might have been my number 3 worst tradecraft. Or do you want to discuss the play that the mailman does first? Let's do that. The mailman rings the doorbell.
I think
right?
we like the way he gets into the house.
Absolutely. But I want to point something out. So I guess let's walk step by step. There's a ring at the door, right? And the guy keeps ringing and the guy can see through the window that Robert Redford's there. So I guess minus spy points for not covering the windows. I don't know. But he could see in and be like, there's a guy. And he's like, yo, Kathy's not here. He's like, well, somebody has to sign for it. And, it's like, a lot of times the mail, they could just leave notes, like, come pick it up later. Just be like, So I'm kind of like iffy on Turner actually answering the door and if that was a good idea. But like you had said, we love the way mailman gets in. You have to sign, the pen doesn't work. He's like, oh, these government pens.
Yeah, I like that.
He's like, I need a pen. As Turner... which Turner was kind of weary, but I would have not let that guy through the door. And if a mailman just walks in and closes the door, even before the weird shoe thingy, or whatever, I would have been like, dude, stay. No, you can stay outside, bro. I'll go grab a pen. You stay right here. Or I would have closed the door. Mm-hmm. Hang on, let me go grab a pen and then close the door. So that's kind of why it made my number 3 worst tradecraft. But like you said, we definitely love how the mailman got in. And he turns his back to him.
He triggers on the shoes, which I didn't understand. Did you have a better read on that? Like, just the fact the guy had scuffed up brown shoes, like, boom, I'm going to throw coffee on you. You're a bad guy.
I have no idea.
Okay,
I don't remember any other time that he saw someone with those shoes.
Me neither.
Like, unless it's outside of the post office postal workers uniform. I know postal workers have very strict uniforms, right?
Right. And okay, so I thought about this a little, like, how did he get the uniform? Like, I don't know, did he like kill a mailman? which seems overly complicated. Hopefully you can find a easier way to get a hold of a mailman's uniform. But let's say, like, given the kind of stupid theory that he like went out and killed a mailman to steal his uniform, like, it would be easier to find a uniform that kind of sort of fits you than to necessarily find a pair of like a mailman with your exact size of shoe.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know what the shoes were. And the mailman also like totally went in without backup, and I'm throwing -5 points on that.
Right. Well, if you're trying to do a clean kill, right? Don't most hitmen work solo?
Well, Jobert's team didn't work solo when they, went into clean house in the first place.
Yeah, but they were wiping out like 9-10 people, right?
Yeah.
Versus like, this is one guy we got to get, maybe two.
Dude, you gotta have one. You gotta have one guy on the street. Come on.
Well, that's true. Yeah. Oh, like a lookout. Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree.
Yeah. If your guy doesn't come back out in 10 minutes, that means something.
Right. Yeah. Something happened.
Yeah.
I don't. Good point.
I don't like it when they go in solo. And you're always harping on teams.
Yeah, absolutely. No. You're absolutely. Somebody should have been watching something, right?
Now, what this does, though, like, if we skip ahead and accept that Turner can overcome the presumably much better fighter, Mr. Mailman. It's one of those situations where you just handed me a clue into my lap, and if you just left me alone, I wouldn't have had this clue. Fuck you. The mailman's got a hotel key, and some of the information on the key matches some shit that he's also got, like a folded piece of paper that is written on 5 Continents Importing Incorporated stationery. -5 points.
Right.
He's got his phone number written on that shit. Like, fucking memorize that shit, or write it down on a. Well, we didn't have Post-its back then, but you know what I'm saying.
Or leave it at the hotel.
Yeah.
You're coming to kill somebody. You're going to leave evidence.
Yeah.
Man, I wouldn't have any real identification whatsoever. Like, it would either be fabricated or I would have nothing.
Right.
Right.
That makes my number 3 worst tradecraft of the film is him just walking into this hit with the phone number of his boss written down in his fucking pocket. Yeah, fuck you. Fuck you, mailman.
Absolutely.
There's going to be a later phone call that kind of explains a little something where, because Wicks is getting killed around the same time that the mailman goes in for the kill on Turner. Mm. And that phone call is going to strongly suggest that Jobert did Wicks and sent his flunky mailman after Turner because, quote unquote, like Wicks was like a more complicated package. I will give +5 points to this for Jobert. I do think that killing a CIA section chief in a crowded New York hospital and trying to make it look like an accident is indeed the more difficult hit. Like if you got to kill Wicks and Turner, and you're the boss and you have your side guy, like which one do you take care of personally and which one do you send your side guy out?
Oh, right. It would have been easy. Oh, that's a really good point. It would have been easier for like new dude to take out the guy in the hospital, and then the master pro to take out the biggest liability.
Well, actually, I read it. I actually read it the exact opposite of what you just said.
Oh.
But I think the crowded New York hospital killing a CIA section chief who might have security around them, like, it should be a much more difficult job than going out to some random apartment in New York and killing a bookworm. Right. So that's why I gave it +5 points. And actually I called it my number 2 best. Was just the explanation of why Jobert wasn't available to do the job on Turner, which I presume he would have done a much better job of. never minding his fuck up of getting in and out of the elevator kind of stuff.
Right. No, I get what you're saying. Oh, okay, because a higher up with the hospital is probably going to be harder to get into versus this rogue.
Into and out of.
Right. Right. No, makes
And
that
also
makes sense.
making it kind of look like an accident, like his life support just...
Right. Just gave out. Yeah.
Yeah. The worst number 3 minus like the mailman hotel key, like that kind of stuff. So now Turner's got some. Well, what does he have right now? He's got an extension. He figures out that it's Washington. He's got a phone number. He's got a phone number that if he follows through, directly leads him to, I guess,
Wix's office. The extension took him to Wix, and he asked, "Can I talk to Wix?" And they're like, "He's not available."
So how does he ever make the connection to get to Atwood from that?
Oh, Atwood. Was that on the paper?
Oh,
He
right.
doesn't-
He's gonna do some crazy cool shit to connect Wix to Atwood. He's gonna do some crazy cool shit.
Yeah. That's when he likes. This is from sneaking into CIA, right?
Yeah. So take it from Turner's play.
Uh-huh.
Because you got some, it looks like you got some shit to say about this.
I have quite a bit of shit to say about this. The phone number and extension leads them to Higgins, right? Or leads them to Wix's phone. However, Wix is disposed of at the moment. And so the only person he's really talked to is Higgins, but he's never met Higgins. And so he is going to just draw... He needs to get in contact with him. Higgins knows what...
In a safe way.
Right, in a safe way. Higgins presumably knows what Turner looks like. Turner doesn't know what Higgins looks like. So what Turner does is asks for Kathy's help, and she is going to go in, I guess, for a job interview.
Kind of looks like.
Yeah, or that's what she says later. I didn't get the job. She gets a visitor pass and then knocks on Higgins's door and then says, "Hi, Addison." He's like, "No, you skipped one. He's to the left." The point of that was for her, and this is why I think the movie's trying to tell us she's got a photographic memory. She sees him and then later is able to signal to Turner, that's the guy, and then she follows him into a cafe where she starts questioning him. That's kind of the play, right? The first thing I want to say is, holy shit, that's my number one best tradecraft. Was like I like in spy films where they figure out how to get the machine to them, and this is one of those moments. So he's not going into Langley or CIA in Washington, wherever they are, himself. He's sending in someone that they've never met. And she's going to try and find out what Higgins looks like. And by doing that, she could signal to Turner, that's the guy. And then she follows him to lunch or whatever and starts playing at him. So that made my number one best tradecraft was this whole plan of drawing in the right guy. But it also made my number one worst tradecraft because I want to believe that you can't just walk into the CIA the same day for a job application. And I want to believe Higgins's office is not anywhere near the person giving interviews. I want to believe that if I'm even selected for an interview, I want to know that office is fucking in Timbuktu somewhere. Right?
Right. Yeah.
Number one. And number two, even if I'm going into Langley for an interview, I promise you, I do not want anyone near those people's offices. So Higgins's office should have never been near that. Now, I can cut a little...
It's a mystery to me how she found his office. Totally.
Right? Exactly. But I do want to cut a little bit of slack because presumably Turner, he's CIA, so he's gone through the farm. He's been to Langley, I guess, right? He's got to know something.
Remember again, this is not Langley. This is the CIA local office in New York.
Okay, so it's the World Trade Center. In the World
Trade Center, yeah.
Okay, well, I guess it'd be easier to find because they have like one floor, right? So it's not, but still.
Well, they have two buildings. Put the applicants in building A and put my secret CIA office in building B.
Right. Especially if you're in charge of New York. If you're the station head of New York City or New York State for the CIA, like, I don't want people to be able to stumble. Oh, I'm sorry. Because her story's believable. Oh, are you Addison? Clearly says Higgins on my door, right?
Right.
Yeah. So, whatever. That's my gripe. So that's my number one best tradecraft and my number one worst tradecraft for a lot. I feel like I've made my case pretty well on this. Yeah. Like.
Overall, I thought abducting Higgins and getting him separated and alone was kind of laughably easy. Overall, didn't like it as far as logic points, minus 5 points, but it's fine for the story.
Right.
And this is where as an audience, if you're experiencing the movie for the first time, this is where you really first get the true idea that Higgins isn't a core part of the conspiracy. He's just part of the machine.
Right.
But he does give some information about Joubert, because I don't know, like, Turner is able to describe him, to a convincing level of detail, at least in the movie, tall, blonde, farmer's build, probably from Alsace accent kind of stuff. But after this conversation, when they split, like, I just wanted to flag that Higgins could absolutely have put an APB on the most conspicuous fucking vehicle in New York City at this point, if he wanted to.
Right.
It's a bright orange Range Rover.
Yeah.
Ugh. I hate that car so much. But all that was really just to like I don't think Turner gets any like actionable information, like plot information. He just kind of gets story thematic kind of stuff,
Right.
Higgins being the voice of like, we are the machine. We don't give a shit about you. You'll be crushed. Don't fuck with us. Even though Higgins isn't necessarily like evil or part of the conspiracy. But Turner's gonna, and like I said, like, Turner, I don't think he gets any actionable information from that. His actionable information is gonna be from the key that the mailman stupidly was carrying around in his pocket when he tried to do the hit. He goes to this key maker, which is actually really interesting. Surprising. I mean, I kind of keyed in on this. Sorry for the unintentional pun, but keyed in on this idea that he's talking to the guy and he's saying, no. You can see there's a code on the side that tells you like who the manufacturer of the key is.
Right.
And
which is believable because he reads everything, right? He probably read how to make.
It is. And the key, the locksmith guy that he's talking to is like, kind of like, some of the things that Turner is saying, like, you could do this, you could do this. He's like raising his eyebrow and saying like, are you in the trade? Like, do you actually know what you're talking about? And he's like, well, I read a lot of books. It actually got so much more interesting to me when I was looking at the cast list, and this guy, this keymaker, let me find it here in our list. Sal Shilazy is the best way I can try to pronounce it. He's last billed on Wikipedia, Sal Shilazy as himself. Sal Shilazy, and that's the locksmith that he's talking to here in this scene, is a real dude. And in the 70s, he was, I don't want to say famous, but would have definitely been famous amongst safecrackers, key makers kind of stuff. He's totally legit. He had a call-in radio show for burglary prevention and talked a lot about security. Let's see. In 1982, he opened Thomas Edison's safe, which had been like uncracked by anyone else for 27 years. And in 76, he opened a safe that was made in the mid 19th century that no one had been able to crack. Like, this guy is like a superstar. Like, it's like a cameo, but only for people that really care about like locks and keys. But crazy. And then,
so if you look at like the hacker level, right, today,
yeah,
he would have been like one of the dudes from Anonymous or something, right? You know, like in that show, Mr. Robot, there were like dudes that were from like the founders of Anonymous or something.
Oh, I didn't know that, but yeah,
like
that
something
would be
like that, right?
Very, very much so.
Oh wow!
So I definitely don't want to take too far of a side trip on this, but like this idea that like there's numbers on keys, usually that like you can decode and figure out like who the manufacturer was or who it goes to. Like, this is totally legit. And it made me run and look at like all of my keys and look at the different numbers. And like if you just Google it, like, what do the numbers on my keys mean? I promise you will find out some very interesting shit. And then, but I want to tie that off though by saying, like, this guy being this kind of superstar of keymaker, I think he could have just, like, based on my Googling of what is possible to learn from a key by looking at it and reading the little printed numbers on it. Like, you never look at those little numbers, right? You've never in your life, like, questioned, like, why does this say Q10783?
I've asked the question and figured there was something for it, but I never looked into it. So yeah, like I was like, yeah, whatever. It took me 2 seconds, like, oh, look, a number, and then like, well, whatever.
Trust
SpongeBob's
me. Right. Google it. You'll spend 20 minutes on the subject. You'll be blown away.
Hell yeah.
But then where I wrap around and how I want to get out of this part of talking about it is, based on everything I saw, this guy at this level, like, he wouldn't need to even read the numbers. He could have just taken a glance at it and said, like, oh yeah, that's what does it turn out to be?
It was like a hotel or something.
Yeah, no, it's a super chain. Like, it's oh god,
like a Holiday Inn or something.
Holiday Inn. I'm pretty sure it was Holiday Inn. Yeah, this guy would have just taken one look at it and said, like, oh yeah, that's a Holiday Inn key.
Yeah.
So now,
that's a good find. That's a really good find.
I thought so. I was just like one of those like weird little wormholes that I just had one tiny question, like, does this make sense? And a quick little Googling, I was like, oh shit, this makes actually a lot of sense. Let's get some plus spy points to that shit.
Yep.
So now he's got the hotel location and a room key and a room number. And apparently, which had been mentioned, but just only very briefly, but it is in there. I mean, I missed it on the first time, but when they were, doing their Laughlin group at Langley and talking about Turner's resume, Army, 2 years military service, Signal Corps. He was a telephone lineman that worked in switchboard maintenance.
Oh.
So even though it's just barely squeaked in there, again, like we also had this question, like where did this guy's military training come from or whatever? But
right.
they kind of squeak. They did kind of squeak in, although blink and you could miss it. That he's really good at phone freaking, and that's what he's gonna do. He's gonna steal some gear from some workmen that are just like out on the street. I don't know why he just needs like one briefcase of stuff that he can pull from the van, but he's the expert, not me, right?
Right, exactly.
So with that gear, with the hotel location, with the hotel's room number, and with a phone number, and with his experience, he does a spooky move, like, hey, I'm onto you, like kind of spook the prey kind of thing by calling Joubert and just asking him if he thinks the condor is an endangered species. It's obviously code for something. Joubert is prompted by that phone call into calling Atwood directly. Mm-hmm. Atwood correctly calls Joubert a fool for calling him at home. Minus 5 points.
Right. Absolutely. That's how he got Atwood.
That's how he
Well, wait. Maybe it's not minus 5 points because this is after the airport scene.
Oh, so right.
Says at Atwood's mansion or whatever the fuck, he was like, no, I predicted you were here. Right? Like, maybe he is the one that did that on purpose.
That would make so much more sense to me because, again, if we go back to the airport scene, it seems like he's been given a new contract. We don't know who the target is, but the only target that we see that wasn't otherwise explained is Atwood.
Right.
So you're right. Maybe this isn't minus 5 points. This is Joubert playing three-dimensional chess.
Right. And since the contract's been changed, he's hooking up. Yeah. Oh, man. Oh, I didn't even think about that. Oh, this is great. This makes this movie a lot better for me. Yeah. But after that, doesn't Turner call Langley or something like that?
Yeah, he goes through a Langley computer system, which is like some of it sort of makes sense to me. Some of it seems to be on voice command, which I really did not think that we had that technology in 1975. Like it's a bit complicated and technical. I don't think I buy it on a couple levels. But it was complicated enough to for me to shrug and say, okay.
I don't know if they had, well, they definitely had tracing back then. And you could tell from the movie that dial tones were a thing. And the trick that he has with that, telephone worker equipment that he uses, that's technology's been around forever, and I know they still use it if you have landlines, right? So, what I really liked about this and what made my number 2 best tradecraft was because, and you already set this up because Turner worked on telephone stuff in the military. He already knew how to operate all this, which is kind of cool because this makes me feel like Sneakers with Dan Aykroyd's character was kind of like referencing some of this because that's what Dan Aykroyd's character did the whole time was play with telephones and shit. And if you ever saw that movie Hackers, which was more about phone freaking, because that's how old, like that as far as hacking goes, that's they would have been working with telephone, like they did all kinds of shit like this. But what I really loved about this was what Turner did was set up 50 different phones for that conversation he had with Langley. So when they were doing traces, I don't know if the maps would show up like they did, but it's possible.
No, the computer stuff is totally fake. Like it's weird. It's weird, like pre-digital computer stuff, like the way that text shows up on the screens and stuff. That's all in post.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, whatever. But the thing is they were tracing the phone call, and they traced the phone call, but it kept jumping. And the guy was like, well, what the hell's going on? And he was like, he's called from 50 different phones. Like, I made my number 2 best tradecraft. And it's very believable considering his military experience.
You know, it's a path that he gets to, eventually, like, plot-wise, is just to get Atwood's address.
Right.
And Atwood, why is... shit. Now I forget again. Like, why is Atwood under suspicion? Oh, because Joubert called Atwood, and because he listened in on their conversation.
Right.
So now he knows that Atwood is employing Joubert. So that's the reason he's going to go and visit Atwood. So Turner's on his way to Atwood. Higgins is living up on his promise to investigate on this shit. Again, like, there's some really faulty, unbelievable computer shit where, like, just pictures of the dead mailman bring up his real identity. It's not like they had facial recognition like that, but they could have just run his fingerprints. So whatever. Right. And to Higgins, he's seeing, like, how the mailman, Wicks, and Joubert are all connected. Mm. Turner calls Higgins and asks who Atwood is. Probably a bad move. I don't think it's a good play to tell Higgins that you're after Atwood right before you go after him.
Higgins hears the name and doesn't say anything to anybody, and he plays it off. So that tells the audience that Higgins isn't on Team Conspiracy. But was that after he kidnapped Higgins?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so he would have already figured out that Higgins is on Team Not Bad Guy. I'm not going to say he's on Team Good Guy, but he's on Team Not Bad Guy, right?
I mean, Higgins told Turner that he would investigate, and we're seeing that he is.
Right.
But I don't know if that means that Turner should necessarily be trusting Higgins at this point.
Right.
And I would say he shouldn't.
Right. And why would he use the name Atwood on a line that's probably being tapped, right?
Yeah.
He probably should have met with him and found a better way. I'm going to meet you in a bus. Be there alone,
But the fact that Joubert shows up could have been, because Atwood was in on that conversation. Oh, but yeah, like you said, like, Atwood's name wasn't mentioned out loud. Higgins kept that card close to his chest. I like your theory best, where Joubert was already planning on killing Atwood and just kind of following Turner along.
And he was, I think he was leading him along. And that's why he made the call to Atwood.
We have our finale. We know Turner's on his way to Atwood's home. It's whatever. He points a gun at him. He says, "What's this all about?" And Atwood doesn't even say anything. And Turner's like, "It's oil. It's always oil." And He's just making this, like, fucking great connection of, like, what this all means without actually having extracted any fucking information. Joubert shows up. It's our theory that, Atwood was in the sight lanes all the time. We still don't know who decided that Atwood was going to be a problem. He had also said in the airport conversation, like, "I owe you Condor." Like, Condor is still, I've already been paid for Condor, so Condor is definitely going down. And he said, "I'll do Wicks for free." He's already done Wicks. Now, if this theory holds, he's done Atwood, but he already said, "I've already been paid to do Condor." There he is right there. Just shoot him. I don't understand at all why he wouldn't just, as a professional killer, just like tie this off or make it look like Turner killed, or like that they mutually killed each other or some shit like that.
Well, I don't know. I mean, maybe it seemed to me like the plans changed, and like Jobert's all business, so maybe that contract was revoked or something.
Yeah, but by who and for what reason and at what decision point? Like, we never get to know. I think it's just a bit mysterious, which is okay for a movie, but I still got to call it out when,
Right,
like,
absolutely.
things just aren't tied together. I like the fact that Jobert is got his whole like, hey, it's over. Can I drop you somewhere?
That was so nice. I really enjoyed that. Like he like basically expressed his admiration. He was like, "You did really good." He even like offered him to like work in assassinations. But yeah, I love that he was like, "Can I?" Yeah, I love that line. Can I drop you somewhere?
He also explains that you won't be able to have your old life because they could come at you from anywhere. This is how it'll go down. A car will pull up next to you on the street. It'll be someone you know. They'll wave you in, and then you'll be done. And then fun trivia. There's a Seinfeld episode. Let's see. It's called The Junk Mail. And this is an episode where like Kramer doesn't want to get mail anymore. And he just wants to cancel all deliveries of all kinds of mail.
Uh-huh.
And whatchamacallit? There's that one super evil character that works for the post office.
Oh, Newman.
Right.
Yeah.
And in that episode, he gives the exact same speech to Kramer about like how the post office is going to take him out.
That's amazing.
as was used in this movie.
Giving aside the giant commercial for the New York Times, when he keeps saying, "I know they'll print it," and then Higgins is like, "How do you know?" He was like, "They'll print it." And then there's like some carolers singing like some like Christmas songs. And like the lyrics are like basically like Jesus is going to save us from the devil. And like he looks at them. Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. Like he looks at the carolers, the camera looks at them, and the lyrics are like, how Jesus Christ is our savior and he's going to come save us from this devil. And I was like, when did this movie go from like a spy film to like a New York Times advertisement to like a Christian film?
But the question on the table is, do they publish it? I say no. I don't think they do. Like
historically, I would say yes, but I don't know. I think we're supposed to be left with the question, especially after Higgins' speech. By the way, we didn't get to talk much about that, but just really quick, Higgins' speech is great because like Robert Redford's Turner's trying to figure out like all the answers to all his questions, and Higgins is like, "Bro, like there's no evil plan. We just play games. People don't ask you to save their lives now because they have food. We're America. We got shit everywhere. But like when their food's missing, when their oil's missing, when their water's missing, when their stores and clothes are missing, people who have never been hungry start to starve.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah.
That's when they ask you for their help, for your help.
Right. Yeah,
they don't ask you for
Higgins is just a cold realist. Turner is a naive idealist, and I guess Atwood is our cynical opportunist.
Agents, please report for debriefing on this operation. The director will see you now.
Based on that, like, did you think that the film had a strong message, or did you think it was muddled?
I think the message was very strong. Muddled is a good way to describe it. But it was kind of like messy, but I think the message was very strong. I think they gave us enough interaction with characters, dialogue and scenes that really sold the message of the film. But I don't think, as a package together, it was like very tightened up. in the 70s is known for like really good writing, you know, but it was also known for like being very experimental with like filmmaking. And like this isn't like an over the top example of that, because there's a lot of weird movies from the 70s that they were just trying to be clever, but there's some moments where I think they were just trying to be clever. Like it wasn't like terrible, like trying to be clever, but it was like they were trying so hard to be clever. You know what I mean?
I agree.
And
I agree
yeah.
100%.
Yeah, so I'm probably gonna. I enjoyed the movie, but I don't think I would really recommend it to anybody. I think historically, as far as the spy genre goes, this is really important. But I don't know. Like I think I'm gonna rate this pretty low. Like I don't know, like a 2.5 or something, maybe a 2.
Well, I'm thinking 2 myself.
Yeah,
And for a lot of the reasons that you gave. Let's also, like, you know, we could flag, like, this is a really important artifact of spy movies. You know, there's so much DNA that you can see in later movies that come from this, and also you can see the DNA that this movie is drawing from previous movies. Like, you know, this is kind of like a evolution of the everyman
right.
kind of character. And then, you know, the abduction kind of stuff. Like, I doubt that, like, Red, you know, that, you know, would have been written the way it was if those people hadn't grown up and bottle fed on 3 Days of the Condor.
Absolutely.
My biggest hit is I could lose Faye Dunaway entirely from this movie.
Yeah. But you need a romance in every movie.
Yeah. It didn't add anything for me at all.
None.
Even though, like, I will say, like, their final, like, goodbye scene was really good. And kind of almost justified, like, almost landed the plane, where, you know, he's saying, like, hey, I just need 2 days. Just whatever you do, like, just 48 hours, just try not to say anything to anyone. And she's like, of course I wouldn't. Like that felt like real and genuine, but that little payoff, like, was not worth the fucking journey.
Right.
I could have cut, like, that whole thing out. And that's mainly why I'm at 2 stars. Let's go straight to park benches. And this is park benches. It's a rating from 0 to 5. Not on how good the movie was, but on how accurate we think it is a reflection of tradecraft. My opening bid is a straight up 3 down the middle.
I don't know. I think we can bump that up to at least a 3.5.
All right, let's hear it.
A lot of the stuff with the telephones.
That was good shit. That was good shit.
And then like the I mean, even though I don't think it should be that easy to get someone in, I liked the play as far as, like, you know, Kathy getting the interview to find what Higgins looks like and then, like, tail him. You know, I don't know. Well, we're looking at Spy Game, Samurai Spy, Good Shepherd, Departed, Miss Sloan. Yeah, I kind of like a 3.5. I think it was a little bit better than some of our other 3s.
You make your case. I mean, like, just the good stuff is good. I'm going to meet you at a 3.5 park bench rating, especially because we have a park bench showing up in a sex scene.
That enough is worthy of a 0.5 bump, right?
Just due to that, we can't go below a 3.5. If you're going to fantasize about park benches while getting nailed by Robert Redford, yeah, there's something to be said for that.
And that's the end of our show. Thanks for listening. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can find us on Twitter at spies_like us. Visit us on our website at www.spieslikeus.net. You can find out about upcoming episodes. Also, what will really help us out is if you give us a review on wherever you found our podcast, either on iTunes or your Android app or YouTube or wherever you listen to us. Even if you didn't like the show, just give us a review. It'll help us, give us feedback so we can make the show better. And it can also help other people who haven't found the show yet find out about us. Hey, Moira, initiate Protocol 9.
Protocol 9 initiated. This podcast will self-destruct in 20 seconds. The preceding transmission sampled the songs Ice Cold by Audionautics, Enter the Party by Kevin MacLeod, and sound effects from freesound.org. Attributions and links are found at spieslikeus.net. Editing by Todd Hostetler.